The cold wind howled through the empty streets of a sleepy Midwestern town as Derek stumbled across the cracked pavement. His hoodie was pulled tight over his head, shielding his face from the occasional passing car. The gas station at the corner of Main and 5th had its neon sign flickering, casting an eerie red glow on the gas pumps below. Derek's heart thudded in his chest as he approached the station, clutching a balled-up note in one hand and a rusty revolver in the other. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Derek wasn't a criminal by nature. He was a man pushed to the edge. Life had dealt him a bad hand. A string of dead-end jobs, mounting debts, and a landlord threatening eviction. But tonight, the voice in his head wouldn't let him rest. "Just do it," it whispered. "Get the money and disappear." With trembling hands, he shoved open the glass door of the gas station. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, illuminating shelves stocked with junk food and energy drinks. A lone cashier, a teenager with acne and greasy hair, leaned on the counter, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even notice Derek at first. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, echoing in the otherwise silent room. Derek's throat felt dry as he walked up to the counter and slammed the note down. The cashier startled, dropping his phone. "Empty the register," Derek growled, raising the revolver. His voice cracked slightly, betraying his nerves. The cashier's eyes widened in terror, his hands trembling as he fumbled with the cash register. Please don't shoot," he stammered, hurriedly stuffing cash into a plastic bag. Derek's heart raced as he glanced nervously over his shoulder. The station's security camera blinked innocuously in the corner, capturing every moment. Just as the cashier handed over the bag, the faint sound of footsteps echoed outside. Derek froze, gripping the gun tighter. The door swung open, and a tall figure stepped in. The man wore a leather jacket over a gray hoodie, his face partially shadowed beneath a baseball cap. His stride was calm but purposeful, and he exuded a quiet confidence. Derek's heart sank as he recognized the rugged jawline and the unmistakable aura of someone who had seen it all. It was Sylvester Stallone. The cashier gasped audibly, recognizing the Hollywood legend. Derek, however, was too stunned to speak. Stallone's eyes darted from the terrified cashier to the trembling man with the gun, then to the bag of cash on the counter. The actor's expression remained stoic, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made Derek's stomach churn. "Kid," Stallone said in a gravelly voice, "you don't want to do this." Derek's hand shook as he pointed the gun at Stallone. "Stay back," he shouted. His voice was shrill, betraying his lack of control. "This doesn't concern you." Stallone took a step forward, unperturbed. "You've got a choice to make here," he said, his tone calm yet commanding. "I've seen guys like you before. Desperate, scared. But trust me, this path you're on, it doesn't end well." "Shut up," Derek barked, his grip on the revolver tightening. His pulse pounded in his ears, drowning out reason. But Stallone didn't flinch. Instead, he spread his hands, showing he was unarmed. "Listen," he said, his voice dropping to a low rumble. "You think this is the way out? I've been in a lot of tough spots myself. Fought my way through hell and back. But I'll tell you one thing. The fight that matters isn't out here." He tapped his chest. "It's in here," Derek faltered, his gun lowering slightly. Something about Stallone's words, his presence, cut through the haze of panic clouding his mind. For a moment, he felt like a child caught in the act, facing the disappointment of a father figure. "You don't know what it's like," Derek muttered, his voice cracking. "I've got nothing left. No one cares." "I care," Stallone said firmly, "and I'm standing right here." The room fell silent except for the steady ticking of the clock. Derek's breathing was ragged as he struggled with the weight of his choices. The revolver in his hand felt heavier with each passing second. Suddenly, the distant wail of sirens broke the silence, growing louder with every moment. The cashier had pressed the silent alarm beneath the counter, and now the police were closing in. Derek's eyes darted toward the door, panic surging anew. "Run!" Stallone said sharply, breaking the tension. "You've got a chance to turn this around, but you have to move now. Leave the money, leave the gun, and get out of here." Derek hesitated, his mind racing. The sirens were almost deafening now, and blue and red lights flashed through the windows. Stallone's words echoed in his head like a lifeline. "Go!" Stallone barked, his voice commanding. In a burst of adrenaline, Derek dropped the gun and bolted out the door, disappearing into the night just as police cars screeched to a halt in front of the station. Officers poured out, their weapons drawn, but Stallone calmly raised his hands in a gesture of compliance. "It's over," he said, nodding toward the discarded revolver on the floor. The police cuffed Stallone as a precaution, but he remained composed, explaining the situation with quiet authority. The cashier, still shaken, corroborated his story, and within minutes Stallone was released, the officers thanking him for his heroic intervention. Meanwhile, Derek ran until his lungs burned, the cold air biting at his face. He found himself in an abandoned lot, collapsing against a graffiti-covered wall. The weight of what had just happened hit him like a freight train. He had nearly thrown his life away, but Stallone had stopped him, not with violence, but with words that pierced the darkness consuming him. Over the following weeks, Derek couldn't shake the memory of that night. Stallone's voice haunted him, a reminder that even in his lowest moments, someone had seen his humanity. Slowly, he began to rebuild. He sought help for his financial troubles, found odd jobs to keep afloat, and even started therapy to confront the demons that had driven him to the brink. And then, one day, as Derek sat in a dingy diner nursing a cup of coffee, he saw a news segment on the tiny TV mounted above the counter. It was a profile on Sylvester Stallone, highlighting his philanthropic efforts and his belief in second chances. Derek's eyes welled up as he listened, the man's words resonating deeply. Months later, Derek found himself standing outside a community center where Stallone was scheduled to speak. Clutching a worn envelope containing a letter he'd written, Derek waited nervously. When Stallone finally appeared, surrounded by fans and flashing cameras, Derek hesitated. But as their eyes met across the crowd, Stallone paused, his face lighting up with recognition. "You made it," Stallone said, extending a hand. Derek shook it firmly, a lump in his throat. "Thanks to you." Their brief exchange was simple, but it carried the weight of redemption and hope. For Derek, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where he chose to fight the battles within, inspired by a man who had once been more than just a movie star. And for Stallone, it was another reminder of the power of connection, the impact of stepping into someone's life at just the right moment. Sometimes the most unthinkable act isn't a feat of strength or heroism, it's showing compassion when it's needed most. Derek left the community center that day with a sense of resolve that he hadn't felt in years. The encounter with Sylvester Stallone had solidified something inside him, something fragile but growing, a belief that he was capable of change. The wind bit at his face as he walked home, but the cold didn't bother him. For the first time in a long while, Derek felt alive. The days that followed were not without their challenges. Derek still had debts to pay and a reputation to rebuild. His landlord remained skeptical of his promises, and the job market wasn't kind to someone with a patchy history and a near brush with crime. But Derek attacked each day with a renewed vigor, waking up early, applying for every job he could find, and taking whatever work came his way. From washing dishes at a local diner to sweeping floors at a hardware store, Derek embraced every task as a step toward reclaiming his life. One morning, as he cleaned tables at the diner, Derek overheard a group of regulars discussing an upcoming charity event. It was a fundraiser for a local youth boxing gym on the verge of closing its doors. The gym had been a cornerstone of the community, helping at-risk kids stay off the streets by teaching them discipline and self-respect. Hearing this struck a chord with Derek, who had once been a troubled teen himself. He remembered the nights he'd spent roaming the streets aimlessly, longing for someone to steer him in the right direction. When Derek got off work that day, he walked straight to the gym, a small brick building with a faded sign that read, "Champions Boxing Club." Inside, the smell of sweat and leather filled the air as young fighters trained under the watchful eye of Coach Ramirez, a wiry man with a weathered face and sharp eyes. The coach glanced at Derek as he entered, clearly sizing him up. "Can I help you?" Ramirez asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. "I heard about the fundraiser," Derek said, shifting awkwardly. "I want to help." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "You a fighter?" "No," Derek admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "But I'm willing to learn. I'll do whatever it takes to help out. Cleaning, fixing equipment, anything." The coach studied Derek for a moment before nodding. "All right, we could use an extra pair of hands, but if you're gonna stick around, you'd better be ready to put in the work." Derek nodded, grateful for the opportunity. Over the next few weeks, he threw himself into helping the gym. He scrubbed the floors until they gleamed, repaired old punching bags, and even patched up the cracked walls. He quickly became a familiar face among the young fighters who started looking up to him as an older brother figure. Despite his lack of experience in the ring, Derek found himself inspired by their determination and resilience. One evening, after most of the kids had left, Ramirez approached Derek with a pair of boxing gloves. "You've been working hard," the coach said. "Let's see what you've got." Derek hesitated but slipped on the gloves. Ramirez led him to the ring and demonstrated the basics: how to stand, how to throw a jab, how to protect himself. Derek's movements were clumsy at first, but he listened intently, determined to improve. He stayed late that night, practicing until his arms felt like lead. Boxing became more than just a workout for Derek. It was a form of therapy. Each punch he threw felt like a release, a way to channel his frustration and guilt into something constructive. The gym became his sanctuary, a place where he could shed the weight of his past and focus on the present. Stallone's words echoed in his mind during every grueling session. The fight that matters is in here. As the fundraiser approached, Derek's involvement deepened. He helped organize the event, reaching out to local businesses for donations and spreading the word throughout the community. To his surprise, people responded generously, eager to support the gym and its mission. The event promised to be a lively affair, complete with an amateur boxing tournament, live music, and a raffle. The night of the fundraiser arrived and the gym was packed with supporters. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as attendees mingled, watched the matches, and cheered for their favorite fighters. Derek worked tirelessly behind the scenes, ensuring everything ran smoothly. But as the night wore on, he found himself drawn to the ring, where a young fighter named Jamal was preparing for the main event. Jamal was one of the gym's rising stars, a 16-year-old with lightning-fast reflexes and a fierce determination to prove himself. Derek had grown close to the boy, mentoring him both inside and outside the ring. As Jamal stepped into the spotlight, Derek felt a surge of pride and nervous energy. The fight was intense, a back-and-forth battle that had the crowd on the edge of their seats. Jamal's opponent was bigger and more experienced, but the young fighter held his own, delivering swift jabs and dodging blows with impressive agility. Derek shouted encouragement from the sidelines, his voice hoarse from cheering. In the round, Jamal unleashed a powerful combination that sent his opponent staggering. The crowd erupted in cheers as the referee raised Jamal's hand in victory. Derek felt a lump in his throat as he watched the boy beam with pride, his triumph a testament to the gym's impact. After the event, as Derek helped clean up, Ramirez approached him with a rare smile. "You've done good, kid," the coach said, clapping him on the shoulder. "We couldn't have pulled this off without you." Derek nodded, humbled by the praise. For the first time in years, he felt like he belonged, like he was part of something greater than himself. The gym had not only given him a purpose, but also a family, a community that believed in second chances. Word of the successful fundraiser spread quickly, catching the attention of local media. A reporter interviewed Ramirez and some of the young fighters, highlighting the gym's positive impact on the community. To Derek's surprise, the reporter also wanted to speak with him, curious about his journey and how he'd become involved with the gym. During the interview, Derek shared his story candidly, from his struggles with debt and despair to the night he'd nearly lost everything. He spoke about Stallone's intervention and how it had inspired him to turn his life around. The reporter listened intently, capturing every detail for the article. When the piece was published, it garnered widespread attention, even reaching Stallone himself. The actor was moved by Derek's transformation and reached out to congratulate him personally. Stallone's message was simple but heartfelt. "Proud of you, kid. Keep fighting the good fight." The recognition fueled Derek's resolve to continue his journey of self-improvement. He began taking evening classes at the local community college, studying business management with the dream of one day opening his own gym. He also started volunteering at shelters and youth centers, sharing his story to inspire others who were struggling. Months turned into years and Derek's life steadily improved. The once despairing man who had walked into that gas station with a gun was now unrecognizable. He had built a life filled with purpose and meaning, one rooted in helping others find their own paths to redemption. One crisp autumn afternoon, Derek stood outside the now thriving Champions Boxing Club, its sign freshly painted and its facilities upgraded thanks to the community's support. He watched as a new generation of young fighters trained inside, their laughter and determination filling the air. As he leaned against the doorframe, Derek's phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Jamal, now a promising amateur boxer traveling the country for competitions. "Coach, just won another match," the message read. "Couldn't have done it without you." Derek smiled, his heart swelling with pride. He had come a long way from the man who had once felt lost and hopeless. And though life continued to present its challenges, he knew he was ready to face them head on. Because the most important lesson he had learned, one he would carry with him forever, was that true strength came not from escaping his past, but from embracing it and using it to build a better future. The next chapter of Derek's life began quietly, with a growing determination to solidify the foundation he had worked so hard to build. Despite the steady progress he had made, there was still a lingering voice within him that questioned whether he had truly left behind the person he used to be. This voice didn't shout. It whispered doubts when he was alone or faced setbacks. And so, Derek resolved to confront it directly by pushing his limits even further. One evening, while scrolling through an online forum for boxing enthusiasts, Derek stumbled upon a post that captured his attention. A retired professional boxer was organizing a mentorship program in a nearby city. The program aimed to help young men and women develop leadership skills, mental toughness, and discipline, not just in the ring, but in life. The boxer behind the initiative was none other than Jonathan "Iron" Hughes, a former heavyweight champion known for his grueling fights and his unmatched ability to come back from devastating defeats. Derek's hands trembled slightly as he filled out the application form. The idea of training under a legend like Hughes was both thrilling and intimidating. He submitted the form, not expecting much, but within a week, he received an email inviting him to join the program. The program was held in a state-of-the-art facility on the outskirts of the city. When Derek arrived for the first session, he was greeted by a diverse group of participants, all eager to learn. Hughes, now in his late 40s but still exuding an aura of indomitable strength, stood at the center of the training room. His presence commanded respect, and his voice carried the weight of experience. "Welcome," Hughes began, his tone firm but encouraging. "This program isn't about turning you into champions. It's about turning you into people who can face anything life throws at you. In this ring, you'll learn more about yourself than you ever thought possible." The weeks that followed were some of the toughest of Derek's life. Hughes pushed his mentees to their physical and mental limits, combining brutal boxing drills with intense discussions about resilience, responsibility, and self-reflection. Derek quickly realized that Hughes wasn't just teaching them to fight, he was teaching them to face their fears, confront their weaknesses, and grow stronger from within. One evening, after an especially grueling session, Hughes called Derek aside. "I've been watching you," the former champion said, his sharp eyes locking onto Derek's. "You've got more fight in you than most, but you're holding something back. What's keeping you from going all in?" Derek hesitated, unsure of how to put his thoughts into words. "I guess I'm afraid of slipping back into who I was," he admitted. "I don't want to lose the progress I've made." Hughes nodded thoughtfully. "Let me tell you something," he said. "Growth isn't about running from your past. It's about owning it, learning from it, and using it to fuel your future. Every scar, every mistake, that's where your strength comes from. You've got to embrace the whole of who you are, not just the parts you're proud of." The words resonated deeply with Derek. Much like Stallone's had on that fateful night, he realized that he'd been so focused on leaving his past behind that he hadn't fully embraced the lessons it had taught him. From that moment on, Derek approached his training with renewed purpose. He pushed himself harder in the gym, but he also began journaling about his journey, confronting memories he'd tried to bury, and reflecting on how they had shaped him. As the program continued, Derek found himself forming bonds with his fellow participants. There was Malik, a former high school football star who'd struggled to find direction after an injury ended his sports career. Sophia, a single mother determined to set a strong example for her young son. And Ryan, a quiet young man who used boxing as an outlet to cope with his anxiety. Together they supported and challenged one another, forging a camaraderie that transcended the boundaries of the gym. One particularly memorable session involved an outdoor survival exercise. Hughes led the group to a dense forest where they were tasked with navigating a rugged trail, building shelters, and working together to overcome various obstacles. The exercise was designed to test their teamwork and adaptability, and it brought out both their strengths and vulnerabilities. Derek took on a leadership role during the exercise, guiding his teammates through the challenges and encouraging them when morale dipped. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he watched Malik overcome his fear of heights, Sophia light a fire with limited supplies, and Ryan lead the group through a particularly treacherous section of the trail. By the end of the day, they were exhausted but triumphant, their bonds stronger than ever. Hughes, observing from a distance, nodded in approval. "This is what it's all about," he said to the group around the campfire that evening. "You've faced the elements, and you've faced yourselves. Remember this feeling. This is the strength you carry with you, no matter where life takes you." The mentorship program culminated in a showcase event, where participants demonstrated what they had learned. Family, friends, and community members filled the gym to watch. Derek was selected to give a speech, and as he stood before the crowd, he felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. "I came here because I wanted to grow," Derek began, his voice steady. "What I've learned is that growth isn't just about moving forward. It's about looking back and finding the strength in your scars. It's about connecting with others and lifting each other up. This program has shown me that no matter how far you've fallen, there's always a way to rise again." The audience erupted in applause, and Derek felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He knew he wouldn't be standing there if it weren't for the pivotal moments and people who had helped him along the way. From Stallone's intervention to the community at the boxing gym, and now, the mentorship program. After the showcase, Derek approached Hughes to thank him personally. "You've changed my life," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Hughes shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "You changed your own life, Derek. I just gave you the tools. The real fight's out there every day. Keep showing up, and you'll do just fine." With the program behind him, Derek returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. He continued working at the boxing gym and studying business management, but he also began exploring ways to combine his passions for mentorship and boxing. He envisioned opening a gym that would serve not only as a place to train, but as a community center for people seeking guidance, support, and a second chance. Derek started small, organizing free weekend workshops at Champions Boxing Club. These workshops focused on personal development as much as physical training, incorporating lessons he'd learned from both Hughes and his own journey. The workshops quickly gained popularity, attracting people from all walks of life. Teenagers looking for direction, adults seeking a healthy outlet for stress, and even former inmates trying to reintegrate into society. The success of the workshops gave Derek the confidence to take the next step. With the support of Coach Ramirez Hughes and the community, he launched a crowdfunding campaign to raise funds for his own gym. The campaign's video featured testimonials from people whose lives Derek had touched, including Jamal, Malik, Sophia, and Ryan. Their stories resonated with viewers, and the campaign quickly gained traction, surpassing its fundraising goal. Derek's dream became a reality when he opened the Phoenix Gym, named to symbolize rebirth and resilience. The gym was more than just a place to train. It was a safe haven for those seeking to rebuild their lives, a testament to the power of second chances. Derek poured his heart into every aspect of the gym, from designing the layout to creating programs that combined physical training with life coaching and mentorship. The gym attracted attention not only from the local community, but also from media outlets and organizations interested in Derek's innovative approach. Derek was invited to speak at conferences and panels, sharing his story and advocating for the importance of investing in community-centered initiatives. He also began collaborating with schools, nonprofits, and law enforcement to reach more people and expand the gym's impact. Despite his growing responsibilities, Derek never lost sight of the importance of personal connection. He made it a point to get to know every member of the gym, offering words of encouragement, a listening ear, or a firm but supportive push when needed. He found deep fulfillment in seeing others grow and succeed, knowing that their victories were a reflection of the strength they'd discovered within themselves. Years later, on a quiet evening at the Phoenix Gym, Derek stood by the ring, watching a new group of young fighters spar under Ramirez's guidance. The gym was bustling with activity, its walls adorned with photos and quotes celebrating resilience and perseverance. Derek felt a profound sense of peace and purpose, knowing that he had not only reclaimed his own life but also created a space where others could do the same. As he reflected on his journey, Derek realized that the unthinkable act that had changed everything wasn't just Stallone stepping into that gas station years ago. It was the moment he chose to listen, to trust, and to believe in the possibility of a better life. That choice had set him on a path of redemption and growth, proving that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found, and a way forward if only we're brave enough to take it. Late one night, long after the gym had emptied out and the echo of punches hitting the heavy bags had faded, Derek sat alone in his office reflecting on the life he'd built. The gym had become a symbol of hope, not just for him, but for the entire community. Its success wasn't measured solely in victories inside the ring, but in the lives transformed by the power of resilience, discipline, and self-belief. He opened his laptop and began drafting a letter, one he'd long thought about but never had the courage to write. The letter was addressed to Sylvester Stallone. Over the years, Derek had sent updates about the gym's progress, but this letter was different. It wasn't just about achievements, it was about gratitude. Derek wanted Stallone to know how much his intervention that night had changed the trajectory of his life. "You didn't just stop me from making a terrible mistake," Derek wrote. "You gave me a chance to see my worth, to realize that even in the darkest moments, there's always a way forward. That night, you saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. I've spent every day since trying to live up to that." He paused, his fingers hovering over the keys, then added, "The gym is more than a place to train. It's a community, a home for people who've lost their way, just like I once did. Every time I see someone walk through these doors with pain in their eyes and leave with hope in their heart, I think of you. I hope you know how far your small act of kindness has rippled." Derek reread the letter, feeling a swell of emotion, before saving it and deciding to send it the next day. As he leaned back in his chair, he thought about the countless people who had passed through the Phoenix Gym, each carrying their own burdens, each finding their own path to healing. One memory in particular stood out. A young woman named Elena who had walked into the gym 6 months ago, her face hardened by years of living on the streets. She'd been skeptical, even defiant at first, but Derek had seen through her tough exterior. Slowly, she'd opened up, channeling her anger and pain into her training. Just last week, she delivered a powerful speech at a local youth event, sharing her journey and inspiring others to seek help when they needed it most. Derek realized that what they were building wasn't just about boxing or physical strength. It was about creating a space where people felt seen, heard, and valued. It was about showing them that, no matter how far they'd fallen, there was always a way to rise again. The thought gave Derek a deep sense of fulfillment. He turned off the lights and locked the gym for the night, stepping out into the cool night air. As he walked home under the glow of the streetlights, he felt an unwavering certainty. The fight that mattered wasn't over. It never would be. And that was exactly what made life worth living. The following morning, as sunlight poured through the gym's windows, Derek arrived early, the air still crisp with the promise of a new day. He spent a few quiet moments walking through the space, running his hand along the ropes of the boxing ring and inspecting the rows of gloves hanging neatly on the wall. This place, he realized, had become more than a refuge. It was a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Shortly after, the first group of trainees began to trickle in, each carrying their unique story, their unique fight. Among them was Sam, a middle-aged man recovering from a recent divorce, and Kara, a college student struggling with self-doubt. Derek greeted them warmly, offering encouragement as they geared up for another session. The hum of activity slowly filled the gym, from the rhythmic thud of gloves on punching bags to the sound of laughter and shared triumphs. As Derek guided a young boy through his first proper stance, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the mirror. He didn't see the man who had once held a gun in a gas station. He saw a mentor, a leader, and a reminder that even broken beginnings can lead to remarkable stories of renewal. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us. What are your thoughts on a man robbing a gas station? What happens next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.